Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Down to Business. And today we're talking all things reporting, information, bookkeeping, etc. And I've got joining me from Beam Bookkeeping with Katie McCool and Deb Merish. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Beam Bookkeeping, I've seen plenty of socials and advertisements, etc. Obviously bookkeeping, but tell me a bit more about, Beam, the business and what you do, with your clients or anyone else that you come into contact with.
Sure. So we provide bookkeeping solutions to clients of small to medium businesses, but unlike some other bookkeepers who try to do everything, we try to swim specifically in the bookkeeping lane. So we focus on what we do, but do it well, and also focus on the ways in which we do it with our clients and try to we build personal relationships with them along the way, because we can all do things remotely, but we really try to connect with our clients when doing that.
So talk to me, you said quite a bit there in regards to, macro. Let's break that down a bit. When you talk about the bookkeeping lane, all right, so for the layman's, this is most of our, hopefully, most of our viewers are business owners, etc. And people have different experiences. But what is the bookkeeping lane, or what typically is your functions of bookkeeping?
We put it into a few different areas. So payroll's a big one that we focus on, that we specialise in. And then obviously accounts payable, accounts receivable, bank reconciliations, basics reporting, and we work really closely with accountants in that space. That really wraps it up. We are a BAS agent, so we do BAS agent services as well, but we really try to focus on that payroll, accounts payable and accounts receivable as the main core functions of bookkeeping.
Can I add to that too, in that we're very respectful of the other advisors that we work with. So in starting an engagement, we'll always connect with the advisor, that will usually be the accountant of the client, to work out who's doing what, so there's no overlap, but also to make sure that we are together, the three of us are working for the one goal.
Yeah, so you're forming part of the team, if you like.
That's
the delivery
right,
team.
Like an extended arm of their business. Like, we like to be really involved and know their business inside out.
So it's pretty important to get payroll right.
Absolutely.
Well, but I say that with a bit of humour. But reality is, you look at some of the not just small business, but even big corporates that would expect get this stuff right, have been in the news for all the wrong reasons. So it's not just making sure payroll's on time, I'm gathering, but it's also whether it's awards or shift loading or making sure all those bits are done seamlessly, I guess, so
That's
that
right.
The business owner can have comfort.
And definitely, and also what we find, different software programs make things look really easy to do. But what we often find is they're not done really well, and also you don't know what you don't know. So you might be going along your way doing your own bookkeeping, thinking you're doing it all fabulously, and you're really hitting some key hurdles you're unaware of, creating an issue for down the path.
Yeah. So, you started to touch on, different businesses that you work with. So, SMEs, small, medium enterprise. Realistically, do you service Newcastle? Do you service beyond that? Like, where really do you find your clientele these days?
We can really service clients anywhere. COVID taught us that. Like, we all learned as a community that we can deal with people in any location. So whilst we can do that, we still encourage our team to do as much face-to-face or on the phone as possible.
But as you said, face-to-face these days is
online.
Not necessarily sitting in the same room. Yeah.
That's right. Whilst we will do it face-to-face if there's a need for it in a specific situation, on Teams or Zoom is easy.
I like that because, and again, for a lot of our viewers, you could be sitting, in a regional location. You could be sitting, quite remotely, if you like, when mightn't have these services at hand locally. But what we have with modern day technology is the fact that you can not have to worry about I have to be sitting there face to face. I'm not limited to where I can get support from, because I imagine, especially you've got other core programs to help the process of information sharing and that sort of stuff?
That's right.
There's so much software available and so much ways to get information to you now online. So I think that's really helped that communication piece in the regional space. Like there isn't a massive opportunity out there for bookkeepers in the regional areas, especially New South Wales and Queensland, but having that access online and having those software programs to get information to has really helped that. And given those businesses in those areas availability to have that information and have good bookkeepers and good accountants on their team.
Just because a lot of these people, watching may not know what we know, what I think I know. Talk to me about some of that software that you're talking about and what's its purpose.
One of our main ones that we use is how we get information from clients. So generally that's through a program called Dext or HubDoc, mainly Dext, so they can send photographs or forward emails to specific email directories, and that'll give us the source documentation for us to begin the information flow. And
they can do that anytime.
They can.
On their mobile phone.
Yes.
Yeah, on their mobile phone, on their laptops at any time, any hour.
So no more excuses for shoe boxes or haven't got receipts or lost
We
them.
still get the odd shoebox, but there are solutions that prevent the need for those.
And even when we do get shoe boxes, it's funny because as soon as they come into the office, they get uploaded via the same ways that the clients would do it, and they get removed, so that is paperless. Yeah. And the other one is payroll. So there's a lot of payroll softwares now that are completely online. People can fill out their timesheets on their phones, take photos on their phones to prove where they are and the geotech. So there's so much available now.
Yeah, because it's funny, the timesheets one, a lot of professions or trades or whatever that'd be a foreign concept, keeping timesheets. And previously, if you did keep it, might have been written or into a specific proprietary software. But now, like as you're saying, it's a great way of actually not trying to catch people out, but actually enhancing opportunities in business and learning more about processes or efficiencies or labour needs, etc.
Can I just add one thing there? There is no one set solution that works for everyone. Everyone's got their different capabilities tech-wise. Their team have got their different capabilities, so it's about scoping out the needs and having the solution that fits them best and is going to work best. Because if they're not going to use it or know how to use it, it's not going to work for us either. So it's about working the correct solution for each particular client.
Yeah. Because it realistically, it has. I guess from my experience, being in the accounting world and business advisory world and that sort of thing, there's a lot of accountants that. This might sound a bit funny, but aren't good bookkeepers because it's not something that, like the olden days where you used to come through and that was probably your training ground. That's not so much the way it works anymore. So collaboration and so from a client with the software, but also with the other advisors, it's a very important piece of this.
That's right. And it's about working together.
So we said anywhere basically, and we say locations, but that's a good thing. But tell me when we come back to, I said about, I know what I use it for with information, etc. But at the core of it, what are some of the key things why bookkeeping is so important?
One of the biggest things is it's about the quality of the numbers that are on the output of bookkeeping. So I always use the saying garbage in, garbage out. And particularly if you don't know what you're doing, you're potentially not getting the correct numbers, or highly likely not getting the correct numbers on the output. So that means when you have a conversation with your accountant, or even if you look at the figures yourself in your accounting file, you could be basing or making critical decisions on very incorrect information and therefore making the wrong decision. So it's about getting that quality data in a timely fashion so that you can make the right decisions. Yeah,
well, and I see that from... hopefully it's changing and many SMEs are now getting, more and more advice or checking in with their advisors more regularly, so they aren't waiting just that once a year sort of accounting aspect. But, say for argument's sake they are only looking at their financials with their account when it's tax time. What are they make decisions off in the meantime? It's pretty scary.
That's right.
Cash is king, and especially as much as physical cash is not changing hands these days, the concept's still the concept.
That's right.
We need that information to make, as you said, not only critically important decisions, but if you want growth, if you want more people on, if you want to, new product lines, etc. One, how do you know you can afford it?
That's right.
Two, how do you know you're making money or it's the right decision?
Sure. And things change so quickly. I think we've seen that in the last few years. Like, you know, the nature of the financial and everything in government can change so quickly that it can impact business significantly. So if you don't have that consistency and keeping information up to date regularly, it's a big rush at the end to keep compliant and keep things in control, and it could be too late if you don't have that consistency and be knowing where they are throughout the year.
Yeah, yeah.
And the knowledge.
Yeah,
The
that's
knowledge,
true.
because as you said, things are changing so much so fast, that there is a knowledge need there for it to be updated constantly, and that's hard when you're trying to run your business and do the books as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, and realistically, as you said, with the technology advancements we've had in last 10 years, let alone last 2, there's no real excuse anymore. I mean, technology is not expensive anymore, you know, like what we can do now with some of these software programs, and as you said, having the right inputs, but assuming that's there, you know, years ago would have been quite the exercise and a lot of time, a lot of money to get to that point. Now it's actually quite, well, it's readily available.
That's right.
Yeah.
It can, and doing it yourself sometimes can take longer than...
Well, I'll talk about that. So I mean, I come from a small business family, you know, and I still remember, you know, Dad's motor mechanic, you know, coming home or being there of an evening, and my mum, who is far from trained in this space, doing the books. Now, I'm not saying, you know, that's the, you know, everyone on the kitchen table still doing the books. I mean, obviously we've just talked about technology, but for a lot of people, they would be still sitting there, finish a work day or come the weekend and doing their books. So what's your challenge to that? Why is that not the best way to go?
My question to them would be, why'd you go into business? I bet it wasn't to sit overnight time and do your books and take time away from your family. To me, doing that, you know, it is taking away from both of those two key things and taking their time away from spending it in their business where they could actually make significant change.
Stick to what you do best. That's what I always say. You can make a lot more money doing what you do in business, and it's like you have advisors in all areas. Like you have solicitors that do all your legals, you have, you know, accountants that do the financials, you know, bookkeepers are there to help you do the bookkeeping. It is a very tedious job sometimes, and for the mum and dads that or the business owners, small business owners that sit at home and do it, it's often very stressful. It's not just the time that sits there, and because they don't know it well, it's very stressful for them to do it, and they often have a lot of questions and they don't know if they've done things right. And it can cost them a lot more in the end anyway, having to get things fixed in the back.
Don't you just put it all to purchases or bank fees?
Yeah. Office expenses, isn't it?
Little accounting joke there, right?
But it's like I've had this conversation with clients before. It's like me sitting with a mechanic who's come to look at getting us to do their books. It's like me saying, I'm going to go home and fix my car. Like, I wouldn't know the first thing about fixing a car. But it's a very similar situation.
Well, you'd think I'd know a bit more, Deb, given my dad's a mechanic, and I reckon I
You
know
might,
less.
but I wouldn't.
I reckon I know less again. So I think for me, what I'm hearing is, you know, really stick to your knitting. Like you're saying, we do what we do really well. Business owners allows them to spend more time on what they do really well, which hopefully will generate income.
That's right.
You know, all the while giving them peace of mind that things are done properly, less stress, you know, and making sure that, you know, it's a value add.
Yeah, and I see our part to play with our clients. It's like they're on this journey of their business, and our part in that is walking alongside them, holding their hand, listening to them, because quite often, you know, we've had you know, in COVID, like it was that mental piece of being that ear to listen. So we're not just there doing the numbers, we're there to support them and hold their hand through that journey or guide them through that journey.
Well, I guess I'll lead into this. Maybe I'm taking some of your war stories away, but you know, for me, as a business owner myself, but also someone that advises a lot of businesses, I want to be looking at accurate information. So that's one of the key things, and timely. No good doing stuff months after the date or the month end, because the same problem would have been causing bigger concerns. So for me, timeliness and you know, accuracy is a key. Key aspects of getting good reports. But talk to me about, here's your chance, without names, spill the beans. What are some of the common issues you see all the time when it comes to, you know, SMEs or even larger businesses and their whole reporting and bookkeeping function?
I'd say it's in the payroll space. It's probably one of the biggest areas of issues and mistakes. I think, and and it changes daily. Like the payroll laws change daily, and you have to keep up to date with it. It's hard enough for us who were in the business to keep up to date. But we find...
Sorry to interrupt, but that'd be even, I guess, even worse in things like hospitality or
industry specific. Definitely.
Yeah.
There's so many different variables and different allowances and different pay rates, and it's really difficult. It's difficult for us, and we have to be on top of it. So for the average business owner, they don't have the time and effort to put in to know the ins and outs. There's the modern awards that you can follow, but even them to interpret, you need a degree to interpret them. So it's really it's really hard. So I think that's probably the biggest area that we find payroll issues and payroll mistakes, which are critical. Like it's people's employment and it's compliance with the business as well. And then for the other one that I think is a lot is just not having source documents. Spending money and not keeping those receipts and those invoices and keeping those source documents, and that's what the ATO wants. So that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
I think just on that point, so when you work with business like that, you go right back into the actual, as you say, source documents, but the source process and help them get that right?
Yes,
yeah.
Sometimes yes, if that's what's needed. Or if we pick that up in what we're doing, that there's an issue there in how the information's flowing through and the processes happening there. The other thing I would speak to is the fact that what we find is some businesses don't have contingencies built in. They've got this reliance in the one person on the ground, or the knowledge is with that person. That person goes and they don't know their path forward. So that's a big part of why using someone like us, or using us in some fashion, because it doesn't have to be an all or nothing situation, is that gives a business contingency if they lose that person.
So I guess then you're talking about, when you work towards having internal resources versus an outsourced arrangement, like what Beam would provide. Yeah, so you're saying it's not all or nothing.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And I guess with you guys as well, you can, you've got your ongoing clients, but then there'll be where you can turn it on, turn it off, depending on what the needs are in the relationship.
Definitely.
Yes.
And I think too, it depends on what the business needs at that time. Like business changes, right, over time. So when a business initially comes to us, we're going to look at what efficiencies we can implement from an external perspective, but then also internally. And the majority of business owners, efficiency will save money. So they're willing to come on board. So we will work with their internal team to say, if we do it this way, or if we implement this program, this is going to help you long term and benefit us as well. That's a really important part. And then by that, it may be that we do a lot of work to start with and do a lot of the bookkeeping or accounts work, and then slowly train their internal team to be doing parts of that, where we just have that review and overseeing role as well. So there's, we do everything from one payroll a month to the whole entire accounts process. For, it varies largely depending on the business.
And that comes down to that initial scoping conversation with the client. It's an open conversation of where are your pain points, what do you feel you need help for. We can then see things that we feel that we could do, but it's working out what's going to fit best for them and give them the best outcome. Yeah,
look, and I think not just with bookkeeping, but in general, people that haven't been exposed to outsourcing, a lot of it comes down to if you want to have multiple skill sets rather than just, no offence to anyone, but one specific skill set sitting in your office. Coverage of leave, the business shouldn't be affected because people want to go on leave, things like people having families, maternity leaves, etc., that sort of stuff. So, I mean, to me, whether you have it internally, whether you outsource, whether you do a combination, whether you work together, it's what you say, it's the business need, but it really does give another string, to the bow of a business owner to be able to say, I can still be reliant upon my information, because the business doesn't stop.
That's exactly right.
Oh, there you go. Any other war stories? What else do we see?
There's just so much. There's probably a lot of people who just don't do anything. It's all too hard. And then they come to us, a couple of years down the track, and we haven't done anything for a few years. Here's our box of invoices and information, and then cleaning it up from them. So I think from that perspective, we look at the approach of, yes, we need to get it up to date, but then we also need to get them into the right process and that consistency and that accuracy and the timeliness of their information. And I think when they can see the output, and we generally work really closely with the accountants. Quite often we're referred by the accountants because to do that cleanup. So we work closely to make sure that they don't get into that position again.
Well, I think to be, like bookkeeping, and again, I know I don't look that old, but probably show my age a bit here, but back in the day, it wasn't probably a set discipline like it is now. It's a key part of your team. And, you know, most accountants, I said before, probably haven't had the experience, but also don't want to do bookkeeping. You know, I mean, these days accountants aren't even necessarily doing as much accounting because the technology is so advanced and legislation's changing, etc. And they want to get into more advisory work, so that having reliable data you can work from is so important, you know.
Yes.
So I think that's a really good thing you bring up there. But for me, it's, you know, when you're talking business owners and some of those mistakes, as I said, not knowing where your cash is at, for me is a killer. So that's pretty key. Compliance, activity statements, all that sort of stuff, you know. I imagine you're pretty rigid with dates and that sort of thing.
We are. We work to all the deadlines, so we very rarely seek extensions. Like, we really try to meet those deadlines, and we'll talk to our clients about, I have to warn clients, because you get a feel for who's going to need more nudging along the way, and that when we're reminding them along the way to help them stay on track. That's part of our role, is to help them keep compliant. So if it means that we're, you know, hi Bob, don't forget we need da-da-da, like, it's because we really want to see them succeed and keep on track. We do it in a nice way. That's right, keeping them accountable.
Kicking them up the backside.
Yeah, in a nice way, Andrew.
So, I mean, you mentioned working with accountants, but I mean, generally, just if I had to summarise that area, you know, it is a key part of left hand talking to right and making sure everyone's on the same page to achieve the best result for a business owner. You know, like, I wouldn't imagine there's too many relationships, or if any, with a business relationship you have where you don't talk to the accountant, or you haven't got that relationship in there.
No, and I think that's a really critical part to the whole process for the client, is connecting with that accountant early. If they haven't been referred by the accountant, reaching out to the accountant and having the discussion around the client. What are you doing for them? What are we doing? And I often touch base with them and say, is there, like, always say to them, if there's something that's not happening that you need to happen, or something that's niggling you that's going to make your part in the process easier, please let us know. Because it's the client we're both there for, so we all need to be on the same page.
Good.
And it's not just the accountant either, it's, you know, bank managers, solicitors, like financiers, like there's insurance brokers, like there's so many other people that helping business, or that, you know, the business owners need around them to make decisions, that they need that accurate data.
Yeah, well, it's anyone in any shape or form that's reliant on the information related to that business.
That's right.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, just trying to capture some of those key points. So we're talking about Beam is very specific about what they do in bookkeeping and what bookkeeping is. And I think the thing that I want to get across here, that business owners really have no excuses. Like, they put so much in their business and their livelihood. It'd be great to know that, one, they're making money, they know where the issues are, they know what's coming up, what they can afford, etc. And realistically, with technology these days, and more importantly, you know, what we've been taught about connecting no matter where we are, you're not relying on what's locally around you, and it can be serviced from anywhere. And, you know, that key message that, you know, why would you get someone to do in your books? Well, it's because we can give you the peace of mind, but also the time to generate more of what you do best.
That's right.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Captured it?
Very well.
In one.
Well, look, I don't think that, to me, you know, I'm a massive fan of making sure we've got data. We need it for everything we do in our business, so it's good and quite refreshing. And I love it where, you know, we're keeping it simple. You know, we're staying in our lane, as you said, but we do that really well. So hopefully people learn a fair bit about that. And thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Until next time, cheers.